Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, the co-feature at Churchill Downs on Saturday is race number 11. It's at a mile and a 16th for 2-year-old fillies. It's the Grade 2 Pocahontas Stakes, part of the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series. This is a winner you're in for the Tito's Homemade Vodka Juvenile fillies. Let's take a look at this field. Down towards the inside is the number 1 Serengeti Impress, who was impressive in winning the Ellis Park debutante last time out, going 7 furlongs. She took no prisoners that day, Matt. She went right to the front and she kept on extending, and she won by almost 15.
I would say it was a pretty darn good effort. When you look at the buyer, she earned an 84. When you look at it from a time form standpoint, she makes all the sense in the world. I suppose if you want to throw some sort of caution out there for anybody that likes her or wants to back her, I mean, her only 2 victories have come with relatively, I don't want to say easy leads out on the front end, but she was able to get out there and take things over pretty easily in that Indiana Grand race in the career debut. And then this most recent one, she went right to the front and went on with it. The only other time she's taken serious heat early on was 2 starts back in the Schuylerville, and perhaps it was too much too soon. But I have to be honest with you, very similar to the way we talked about the Iroquois. I just think from a numbers standpoint, I just think she's that much better than everyone else at this point.
Now she's going to have to handle the 2-turn question for the first time, but at least she draws a very comfortable inside post position. You mentioned her speed. Timeform US has her on the lead. That red bar, perhaps a sign of caution. Fast pace expected in the Pocahontas as she tries 2 turns for the first time. Her dams by Bernardini, I think she'll have enough pedigree to get this distance. If she comes close to that last fig, she is way the horse to beat. The number 2 is Love My Honey, and this filly's a half to several black type earners, and I like the way she won her debut at Saratoga for trainer Michael Maker, especially after the runner-up came back to graduate with a 74 buyer.
Yeah, I have no knocks against that. I thought it was a very professional debut. She resented the whip a little bit, flashed her tail down the lane, but at the end of the day, I don't really have anything to knock about it. You brought up the runner-up came back and ran well. The 4th place finisher came back to earn a 67 buyer. I think there's a lot to like here. And again, the fact that she has at least, I don't want to say she sat well off the pace because she was only a half length back, but the fact that she's not some sort of speed crazy one where she can sit off of a target and say, you know what, Serengeti Empress, you want to go? I'm going to park right off your flank and we'll try to take this thing over, turn him for home.
She breezed in 46 and change less than 2 weeks ago, so I would expect her to take advantage of this inside post and tuck herself off of Serengeti Empress and perhaps the 5 Splashy Kisses, who we'll get to in a moment. The number 3, My Winter Rose, is 50 to 1 on the morning line. She only cost $1,000 as a yearling. She's a half to a multiple stakes placed runner named Foxtrot Sally, who did some good work on dirt, but it is worth noting this horse improved on synth and turf in her last 2 races.
And significantly too. It wasn't by a few points. This was the only times that we've seen this horse get up into the mid-50 range. And even having said that, if you think that she's able to replicate that over on the dirt, that's just simply not nearly fast enough to even sniff the board. I think the Connections would be thrilled if they could hit the board. I just still think that's a long shot.
The number 4 is Profound Legacy. This is a full sister to Kentucky Oaks winner Believe You Can, and she won her first 2 starts by open lengths. Maybe not in the fastest of fashions, but in impressive fashion. And then Serengeti Empress just ran her off her feet last time out. What Profound Legacy do we get on Saturday?
Well, you might get something more similar to the first and second lifetime starts. The problem is, even if you think you get that, is that enough to make up 20.5 lengths of Serengeti Empress? I don't think that even puts a real dent in those sort of numbers. I think she's okay. It's interesting, though, and this is sort of a study on pedigree. When you look and you see that she's a full to Believe You Can. There were a number of other full siblings, and a number of them didn't really do much as far as the racetrack was concerned. There's no guarantee, regardless of the bloodlines, that you're going to end up getting a Kentucky Oaks winner. I think she's okay, and just okay at this point.
In from Southern California is the number 5 Splashy Kisses, a recent maiden winner by open lengths at Del Mar for trainer Doug O'Neill. She'll be stretching out for the first time, but she's by Breeders' Cup Classic winner Blame from the family of Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies winner Tempera. I like the improved speed she showed second time out. She is bred to get this distance, is in good hands, and she'll offer a little bit more value than Serengeti Empress while getting bet.
Now, it's going to be interesting to see how they decide to ride her with Drayden Van Dyke aboard. You know, again, that only victory so far, gate to wire fashion. She showed much more alertness getting out of the gate that day in the second lifetime start. The only concern now is, are you fast enough to clear if you're inclined to try to make the front? And if not, and you're sitting off of a horse, can you successfully do that your first time, 2 turns, first time out of Southern California? There are a lot of things against her that, to me, at a shortish price, just kind of make me say, nah, I'm good.
Interested in your thoughts on the 6. Lights, camera, action. 20-1 on the morning line. Is the recent improvement due to simply switching to turf, or does it have a lot to do with distance? She's by Will Take Charge. The dam's a half-sister to Cross Traffic, a Grade 1 stakes winner going long on the dirt. And Kenny McPeak won this race back in 2015 with a turf-to-dirt move and Dothraki Queen.
Yeah, it's a great question, because I think it depends on how you want to look at her. If you were a fan of this filly, you're going to look at it and say 2 turns, this is all she's wanted all along, and now doesn't make a difference that we're dealing with a different surface. I'm of the opinion that, you know what, it's probably somewhere in the middle. I think she's probably better going 2 turns, but I don't think she took some sort of giant step forward simply because, 2 turns was the difference maker. I think it was more a matter of she appreciated ground and she appreciated the turf.
Include Edition is the number 7. Well beaten when second by Serengeti Empress in the Ellis Park debutante, but this is a filly that would benefit from a fast pace up front, and at a big price, I wouldn't count her out of once again getting a minor award.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she is that kind of horse that can come along and maybe run 3rd or 4th in a spot like this. The problem is it really boils down to you're dealing with a horse that needs to make up 13 and change on Serengeti Empress. And I know I've said that before and it's come back to bite me in the rear end, but we're still dealing with basically the length of a stretch. I just have a hard time imagining them closing the gap enough.
From the Todd Pletcher barn comes the number 8, 2 Dozen Roses, who was placed first via disqualification at Saratoga. I think it's a good sign that Todd debuted her going long on the turf, feeling that distance would be this filly's friend. She, of course, is by Kentucky Derby winner Super Saver and is a half to a multiple stakes place synthetic runner. She ran well last time out. She's another one that needs a bit of a forward move, but there's some potential here.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things. We've talked about it with Kenny McPeak, where he debuts dirt horses, dirt pedigrees on the turf going long because he wants distance in them. I think that's a case in point right here with this filly. I do think there's a scenario, though, where finally when she is allowed to stretch out on the main track, maybe she does take a little bit of a step forward here. Always respect Pletcher wherever they show up.
The horse that was punished when 2 Dozen Roses was put up was the number 9, It Just Hit the Wire. Finished first that day for Kieran McLaughlin. Good formulator fact for Kieran. Past 3 years, 2-year-old second-time starters moving from sprint to route, 20% winners, a positive return on investment. This filly is bred to go long. She's by Bernardini. Her dam was a Grade 2 stakes placed dirt router at 2, and this horse is a half to CJ's Awesome, a graded stakes placed runner going long on the dirt.
Yeah, this is what this girl wants. She wants to run all day. She wants the main track, and even I say that, the dam was second in the Regret as well as being second in the Pocahontas, or the Goldenrod, excuse me. So there's a little bit of versatility there, but we know what Bernardini's game is all about. I think she's the other one in here, as much as I think that the inside horse is just way the horse to beat. If I was looking for a little bit of an alternative, it'd probably be It Just Hit the Wire, because I think there's a real scenario where she takes a significant step forward, second time out, first time going 2 turns.
Talk about versatility. The Iowa Flash, the number 10, Taylor's Spirit. She's won going 5 on the dirt at Prairie Meadows. She's won going a mile on the turf at Louisiana Downs. She's won all 3 of those races easily. She's won them on the lead. She's going to be facing probably the toughest pace situation in her career. But boy, it's hard to knock an undefeated filly that's been winning like this.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, she's been I don't want to say an overachiever at this point. They clearly thought highly of her. They paid $80,000 for her back in April of 2018. But I think it's a scenario where you brought up the running style. She's been out there on the front in all 3 victories. I can't imagine her clearing off to the front here. And if she does, she's probably going too fast. So now you've got to factor in from that outside post, breaking from post 10, are you going to be content taking a middling price? And I say middling, she's probably going to be double digits, but she's going to be sitting off of a target, facing probably the most legitimate pace ever and the most legitimate company. There's just too many things going against.
She's by Algorithms, out of the female family of Out of Here, who won the Delta Jackpot. The 11 is Saved at Dawn. This is another daughter of Super Saver, a 2-turn winner last time out at Indiana Grand, but boy, she was able to get loose through a first quarter mile of 25 2/5 seconds. That's not good. She may run 25 2 the first quarter on Saturday. She'll be 10 lengths out of it.
Yeah, that's the problem. She's going to be facing so much more heat early on. I will say, though, I liked that run 2 starts back. I know it was off the turf, but I like the fact that she was relatively close to what Timeform US has, considering a hot pace. They had all those fractions color-coded red. I think that there's a scenario where she's going to be able to make up some ground at some point. So I don't think she's a likely win contender, but I think she's the kind of horse that I wouldn't mind throwing in underneath. The dam was pretty solid. She won the Torrey Pines and was a runner-up in the Santa Anita Oaks as a 3-year-old.
Number 12, Tapping Pearl, is a daughter of Tappet, and she is a half to Drill, who I believe won the Del Mar Futurity over the old Poly track at Del Mar. Nice debut win over this Churchill down surface sprinting, then just didn't get out of the gate in the Schuylerville, and that pretty much cost her all of her chances. This is just such a tough outside post position. Flo's going to really have to work to get a spot without losing too much ground going into the first turn.
Yeah, 100%. Really, that was sort of the drawback for me with this filly. I like the pedigree. I think there is some potential here. That debut, you're right, she was very impressive. The problem is she got out there to a pretty cushy lead, and they weren't going all that fast. And I'm not going to hold the Schuylerville against her. It's just, boy, we haven't seen her since that race in the Schuylerville. That was in the middle of July. Now you got to go 2 turns breaking from the far outside. I just think there's a lot going against her here on Saturday.
Top pick time for the Grade 2 Pocahontas Stakes at Churchill Downs on Saturday. We're both going with Serengeti Empress. She got the fig last time out. She draws a nice inside post. I think Corey Lannery's going to go. And again, if she runs anything close to that last fig, she'll be real tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, she's the fig horse in this spot. You've got the perfect sort of post position with the perfect rider at Churchill Downs. You go down there, you glue yourself to the rail, and you say, come and catch me. And everyone else, we have the fig, we have the pedigree at face value that would suggest 2 turns isn't going to be an issue. I hate to just chalk out, but I just think she's probably the best horse. She's the now horse, put it that way. Going forward, maybe I'd be interested in some other ones, but I just think right now Serengeti Empress is the horse to beat.
Give me numbers.
1, 9, 11, 2.
1, 5 for me in the Grade 2 Pocahontas, part of the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series. A win and you're in for the Tito's Homemade Vodka Juvenile Fillies. Best of luck.